Advocates say an early childhood therapy program for babies and toddlers needs more funding. The push comes after a federal investigation found that Texas has failed to make sure children with disabilities and developmental delays have access to different therapies. As KXAN investigator Arezow explains, there is a growing need, especially in rural communities.
There you want the beads, okay? Get it.
Good. Grabbing a string of beads.
Where's your left hand? What about your left hand?
It's not taken for granted by mom Natalia Castillo from Kyle.
So she doesn't breathe on her own or eat on her own.
Mariana is 14 months old and was diagnosed with central cord disease, which impacts her muscles. Twice a week, her mom and nurse work with a therapist virtually on a number of exercises, including speech therapy.
She loves this thing. It actually vibrates. So, help her out with her mouth movement.
Good.
Mariana also gets physical and occupational therapy, which will help her learn to move her body and crawl.
If we wait too long to provide interventions, sometimes it's harder for some of these children to catch up.
Guillermo Lopez is with Any Baby Can. The nonprofit gets funding from the state to provide this service through the Early Childhood Intervention, or ECI program, and includes therapies for children under 3 with autism, speech delays, Down syndrome, and other disabilities.
By providing early intervention services, we are able to then decrease the amount of students that local school districts might have for special education.
Texas has 41 providers, including Any Baby Can, for all 254 counties. The Department of Education says that's a problem. The report details that even though more children are needing these therapies, lawmakers have cut funding to the program since 2011, forcing more than a dozen providers to drop out. The investigation says a number were in rural communities, which led to no services for some time.
Texas actually ranks 46th in the nation for the percentage of infants and toddlers that we serve.
Texans Care for Children, a policy advocacy organization, says it studied the program too and found that enrollment is disproportionately low for Black children. The organization says lawmakers started to restore funding last session, but it wasn't enough.
We're optimistic that next session the state legislature will provide additional funding to ECI so that the program has enough money to provide services to all eligible kids.
You gonna touch those?
Mariana started her therapies in August.
She's my miracle baby.
Her mom says it's already made a big difference.
I guess whenever we started, she was only doing like a minute or two. We're up to 25 minutes right now by holding her head by herself.
Natalia says that's a huge milestone. Arezow, KXAN investigates.
Well, Texas Health and Human Services Commission, which runs the program, says it's reviewing the federal findings to figure out next steps. Last legislative session, the agency requested $71 million, but only got $31 million. Texans Care for Children says a boost in funding is now even more critical during the pandemic, which has created some new costs for providers, including adding technology for telehealth and providing personal protective equipment for staff.